Venom radio and venom television. I'm afraid of everyone. I'm afraid of everyone. Lay the young blue body with the old red bodies. I'm afraid of everyone. I'm afraid of everyone. With my kid on my shoulders, I try not to hurt anybody I like, but I don't have the drugs to sort. I don't have the drugs to sort it out. Sort it out.
Is she to be buried in Christian burial when she willfully seeks her own salvation?
I tell thee she is, and therefore make her grave straight. The crowner has sat on her, and finds it a Christian burial.
How can that be unless she drowned herself in her own defense?
Why, 'tis found so.
It must be se offendendo. It cannot be else. Here lies the point. If I drown myself wittingly, it requires an act, and an act hath three branches: to act, to do, to perform. Argal, she drowned herself wittingly.
Nay, but hear you, Goodman Delver.
Give me leave. Here lies the water. Good. Here stands the man. Good. If the man goes to the water and drown himself, it is will he, nil he goes, mark ye that. But if the water come to him and drown him, he drowns not himself. Argal, he that is not guilty of his own death does not shorten his own life.
But is this law?
Aye, marry, it is Crowner's quest law.
Will you have the truth on it? If this had not been a gentlewoman, she should have been buried out of Christian burial.
Why, there thou sayest, and the more pity that great folks should have countenance in this world to drown or hang themselves, more than they're even christened. Come, my spade, there is no ancient gentleman but gardeners, ditchers, and gravemakers. They hold up Adam's profession.
Was he a gentleman?
He was the first that ever bore arms.
Why, he had none.
What, art a heathen? How dost thou understand the scripture? The scripture says Adam's dig. Could he dig without arms? I'll put another question to thee. If thou answerest me not to the purpose, confess thyself.
Go to.
What is he that builds stronger than the mason, the shipwright, or the carpenter?
The gallows maker. For that frame I lose 1,000 tenants.
I like thy wit well, in good faith. The gallows does well, but how does it well? It does well to those that do in. Now thou dost ill to say the gallows is built stronger than the church. Argal, the gallows may do well to thee. To it again, come.
Who builds stronger than a mason, a shipwright, or a carpenter?
Aye, tell me that and unyoke.
Mary, now I can tell.
To it.
Mass, I cannot tell.
Cudgel thy brains, no more about it, for your dull ass will not mend his pace with beating. And when you are asked this question next, say, a grave maker. The houses that he makes last till doomsday. Go get thee in and fetch me a sup of liquor. In youth when I did love, methought I was very sweet. To contract, oh the time for my behove. Oh, methought there was nothing meet.
Has this fellow no feelings of his business? He sings in grave making.
Custom hath made it in him a property of easiness.
'Tis even so, the hand of little employment has the daintier sense.
But age with his stealing steps hath clawed me in his clutch, and hath shipped me into the land as if I had never been such.
That skull had a tongue in it. It could sing once. How the knave jowls it to the ground, as if it were Cain's jawbone. It might be the pate of a politician, which this ass now overreaches, that would circumvent God, might it not?
It might, my lord.
Or of a courtier which would say, Good morrow, sweet lord, how dost thou, sweet lord? This might be, my lord, such a one that praised my lord, such a one's horse, when he meant to beg it, might it not?
Aye, my lord.
Why, even so, and now my lady worms chapless, and knocked about the mazard with a sexton's spade. Here's a fine revolution, and we had to trick to see it. Did these bones cost no more the breeding, but to play loggets with them? Mine ache to think it on.
A pickaxe and a spade for and a shrouding sheet. Oh, a pit of clay to be made for such a guest is meet.
There's another. Why not that be the skull of a lawyer, where his quiddities now, his quillets, his cases, his tenures, and his tricks? Why does not he suffer the mad knave now to knock him about the sconce with a dirty shovel, and will not tell him of action of battery? This fellow might be in times a great buyer of land, with his statutes, his recognizance, his fines, his double vouchers, his recoveries. Is this the fine of his fines, and the recovery of his recoveries? To have his fine pate full of fine dirt? Will his vouchers vouch him no more with his purchases, and double ones too, than the length breadth of a pair of indentures? The very conveyances of his lands will scarcely lie in this box, and must the inheritor himself have no more, huh?
Not a jot more, my lord.
Is parchment not made of sheepskins too?
Aye, my lord, and of calfskins too.
There are sheep and calves which seek out assurance in that. I will speak to this fellow. Whose grave is this, sirrah?
Mine, sir, for a pit of clay for to be made for such a guest as meet.
I think it be thine indeed, for thou liest in it.
You lie out on it, sir, therefore it is not yours. I do not lie in it, yet it is mine.
Thou dost lie in it, to be in it, and say it is thine. 'Tis for the dead, not for the quick, therefore thou liest.
'Twas a quick lie, sir, 'twill away again from me to you.
What dost thou dig for?
For no man, sir.
What women then?
For none neither.
Who is to be buried in it?
It was for a woman, sir. Rest her soul, she's dead.
How absolute the knave is. We must speak by the card or equivocation will undo us. By the Lord Horatio, these 3 years that I've taken note of it, the age has grown so picked that the toe of the peasant comes so near to the heel of the courtier, he gaps his cod. How long hast thou been a grave digger?
Of all the days in the year, I came to it that day our last King Hamlet overcame Fortinbras.
How long is that since?
Cannot you tell that? Every fool can tell that. It was the very day that young Hamlet was born, he that is mad and sent into England.
Aye, Mary, why was he sent to England?
'Twill a not be seen in him there. There the man are as mad as he.
How he came mad?
Very strangely, they say.
How strangely?
Faith, even with losing his wits.
Upon what ground?
Why, here in Denmark. I have been sexton here, man and boy, 30 years.
How long will a man lie in the earth before he rot?
In faith, if he be not rotten before he die, as we have many pocky courses nowadays, that will scarce hold the laying in. He will last you some 8 year or 9 year. A tanner will last you 9 year.
Why he more than another?
Why, sir, his hide is so tanned with his trade that he will keep out water a great while. And your water is a sore decayer of your whoreson and dead body. Here's a skull now. This skull has lain in his earth 23 years.
Whose was this?
A horse and mad fellow's it was. Whose do you think it was?
Nay, I know not.
A pestilence on him for a mad rogue. He poured a flagon of Rhenish on my head once. This same skull, sir, was Yorick's skull, the king's jester.
This?
Even that.
Let me see. Alas, poor York. I knew him, Horatio. A fellow of infinite jest, of most excellent fancy, he hath borne me on his back 1,000 times, and now, how abhorred in my imagination it is, my gorge rims at it. Here hung those lips that I have kissed, I know how oft were bead jibes now, your gambols, your songs, your flashes of merriment, that were wont to set the table on a roar, not one now to mock your own grinning, quite chat-fallen. I get thee to my lady's chamber, her pain an inch thick, to this favor she must come, make her laugh at that, prithee Horatio, tell me one thing.
What's that, my lord?
Dost thou thinkest Alexander looked the fashion of this earth?
Even so.
And smelt so? Puh.
Even so, my lord.
To what base uses we may return, Horatio? Why may not imagination trace the noble dust of Alexander, till he find it stopping a bunghole?
'Twere to consider too curiously, to consider so.
No, faith, not a jot, but to follow him thither with modesty enough, and likelihood to lead it, as thus, Alexander died, Alexander was buried, Alexander returneth into dust. The dust is earth. Of earth we make loam, and why of that loam? Whereto he was converted, might they not step beer-barreled? Imperious Caesar, dead and turned to clay, might stop a hole to keep the wind away. Oh, that earth, which kept the world in awe, should patch a wall to expel the winter flaw. But soft, here comes the king. Right now we're gonna play a huge prank on Marshall. He's not gonna know it's coming. He's gonna run out of the woods and players gonna run up and trip him. Fall straight on his face. It's gonna be awesome.
How can that be unless she drowned herself in her own defense? I think I looked at the camera.
To what bases? But 3, 2, 1.
I'm not holding my shovel. Hold on, just leave it. Just leave it. I'll just edit it. Okay, look, I guess some sort of shit like that's important. Okay, and begin.
Why may not imagination trace the noble dust of Alexander till he find it stopping a bunghole? I looked at the camera.
It's okay, do you want to do it again?
Yeah, sure. What does stopping a bunghole mean?
The bunghole is a hole in a barrel.
Okay.
But it's also, never mind.
Yeah.
You were thinking like Beavis and Butthead?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Alright, what are you ready?
Still going?
Yeah.
Alright.